Check, check. Is anyone here? Yeah, we got some participants in the room here. Hello. Hello, Gary Fletcher. Hello, Little. Mary Starr, Matt Inslee, Nedra Bray. Oh, we just joined Bucky Worden, Tanya Marsh, Tim Mossberger. Oh, look, it's everybody. Joe Kwon, we got you muted. I'm unmuting you. That's right. I'm using my power to unmute you. What's up?
I just unmuted myself.
Oh, well, I can mute you again if you have that attitude, honestly. We'll
Hey, Bob.
Joey.
Oh, man. I just want to give you a hug.
I know.
You guys know each other?
Joey, you drunk?
Yeah.
Man, I miss you. I haven't seen you since Dominican Republic.
Dominican Republic. Ugh. It's crazy.
So wrong.
It's so wrong. Oh, man. When are we going to be back? Who knows?
Next year.
But, yeah.
Next fall.
Next fall. Next fall, 2022. Yeah. How are y'all?
All right. We're doing all right.
Is my audio okay?
Yeah.
It sounds good here.
Good. I know that was a concern for Ben. He was very nervous about it.
Yeah. Of course I'm nervous about it. I'm the one who takes the fall in all these things, and then I have to give it to Gary. You know what I'm saying? I have to go to Gary and be like, "We did it again, Gary."
Is Gary here?
Yeah, Gary's in the room, dude.
Bus driver Gary's here? Oh, man.
No.
Did you say Blues Traveler Gary?
Bus driver Gary.
Bus driver Gary.
Yeah, he's here. He's here to pick us all up. It was very confusing for him. I was like, so we're going to need you to be in North Carolina and Tennessee and California at the same time. And somehow he was like, I got it. I guess that's why he works for you guys.
I love how you decorated your room, Ben.
Check. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's as if I'm on the set of I Love Lucy in the 1950s, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who would have known?
But you're not in black and white.
Yeah,
No.
that's right.
No.
You're almost black and white if your background wasn't in color.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Let me just
Oh,
check
man,
this.
Joe, what are you doing? What are you up to?
Going crazy.
Yeah.
No, just being angry all the time, it seems like. I'm sure you can tell from my...
On Twitter, you're angry.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
I'm Twitter angry. I'm sitting on a yoga ball because it's good for my posture.
Joe, how's your workouts?
Great. I'm one of the weird people who lost weight during quarantine and
Impossible.
feel great.
My son
Cut down.
Weird people. Don't you mean one of those hated people who, when they mention it, I lost weight too, and my wife was like, "Don't tell anybody."
Yeah. But it was not good because we did that Whole30 thing, and then it was just I shed a bunch of weight. Emily didn't shed much weight. It's just not a good thing to.
Well, but you did the
bring up on a podcast
before the COVID.
I did it during COVID
You
as
did
well.
It again. You did twice.
Yeah, because why not? I mean,
check.
Things are hard. Let's make them harder.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It was good though. I feel great.
Good.
You look good.
Yeah. I miss everybody. It's the first time I put on a collared shirt, and it's for y'all.
Yeah, I almost got dressed up for you, Joe.
You did. You have a collared shirt on.
Yeah, but I wear this same shirt for every week we do this.
I usually don't wear a shirt, Bob. So there's that.
Take your shirt off. I bet people want to see your abs.
Yeah. That's the after party show.
My son's been watching WWE, and so for now, if you don't have abs, you're fat.
Yeah, the cracker would agree.
Not like a wrestler, you're fat. So he's got these wrestling action figures, and they all have these perfect abs.
Oh, but what about the American Dream? It wasn't.
That's right. Well,
he didn't have abs.
It was the 80s.
Or what about the greatest wrestler of all time, Mick Foley?
Now, wait a minute, Ben. Why do you not sound good all of a sudden? No,
you got quiet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys can't hear me, huh? Okay.
No, I can hear you. Just
we
quiet.
Can hear you. Just
is that better? Is that better?
That's better. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
For some reason, I'm maxing, peeking out in audition, and I'm trying to figure out why that is happening. But
I might turn my backlighting off because that thing is making me look darker.
I think you look pretty good, dude.
Oh, I've got the window open in front of me too.
You need to get you a halo light.
Ooh, I don't do podcasts enough to do this.
Ben orders us all this equipment, and I don't know how to use any of it.
Yeah, you don't. You're like the tech guy.
He got me this camera that I just hooked up. See if it switches.
Oh, look at that.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Before, after.
I think the other one looks better.
I think this one looks better. This is the FaceTime camera.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll
put that on eBay and sell it for $6,000 because I spent like 2 months going to Best Buy's website like every day trying to find that camera. But hey.
Yeah. Well, I guess Apple just, they just do it better.
Well, no, the thing is that the camera in the MacBooks is not very good. And that's like the deal was that to keep the case slim, they have to put a 720 camera that's bad with lighting in it. And that's the reason that everybody is getting webcams. Anyway, this isn't a tech podcast.
Maybe it is. Maybe
it could be. I can geek out all you want about this stuff.
All right, I'm going to say hi to everybody who's here.
Yeah, I can see them. I can see their little text messages popping up here. Hi, everybody.
So this is Joe. This is how this is going to go. Ben's going to be talking to you, and I'm going to be having conversations with everybody in the chat box.
Okay.
Ben's going to say, "Stop tapping. All I hear is you tapping."
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. That's the go. I know Joe's a regular listener to our podcast. Gary edits that stuff out.
I love
mostly just me chastising Bob. Is the podcast. I will say for everyone, welcome to all our patrons. It's awesome you guys are here. Thanks for being here. For today, I think it's been great because like every time we've been doing this, we've had more people. And so we've got the chat box, which goes, and because there's so much going on there, sometimes we can lose some questions, like especially as we're getting more and more people. So there's actually a Q&A box that we haven't really been using before, but for today, I think it's probably best to do that to keep the questions separate from the general texting so that we can make sure that we don't lose any of them. And we can open those up. And also if you ask it in there, kind of keeps us on track, right? So Q&A box, look at the bottom of the screen. It's in that same bar as the chat is. And
Gloria's here.
Oh,
hey Gloria. So my daughter pretends like she's other people, and so she's been Gloria this week.
Oh, nice.
She says, "I'm Gloria." So she says, "Who am I?" And I say, "You're Hallie." She said, "No." Who am I? And I go through the whole list, and she's Gloria.
All right.
So it's good to have you here, Gloria.
Yes, it is.
My mom's kicking it back in North Carolina, dude. She's not far from you, Bob. And she's here. And by the way, you guys know it's not a live show that you guys had to travel for, but I know that some of you guys learned how to use Zoom for the first time to be here. So thanks for doing that. All right.
Are you talking to me? This is like my third Zoom.
Joe's on Zoom all the time.
I somehow believe that. Hold on. Wait. Coming in through the window to the left.
Oh my God! Look at this.
First appearance.
Oh, Kelly.
It's magic.
Yes.
That was so cool.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Hi.
It's good to see
Kelly.
Yeah, good to see you guys. Hey, Joe. I've seen Bob like maybe
a billion times.
Like 3 or 4 times.
I don't see. I'm usually like upstairs putting the child to bed, which is what's happening.
I'm honored.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'll let you guys do your important work. Good.
All right, good to see you, Kelly.
You guys are like, there's a child that lives in your Omega studio with a green screen. There is. It's
it's Ricky Ricardo.
Man, is that a green screen? You're so man.
He's techie.
You're so techie.
Yeah, it is. Hey,
that's the green screen too.
And let's just say it's definitely because I want to be high tech, not because there's just a mattress up against the wall behind it. No one.
If anybody stayed at Ben's house, that's the room they stay in. So
not now, it's not.
and Joe's got a green screen. Joe's got a green screen that's a bunch of hats. So.
Yeah, because I don't own any hats. They're just all green.
Time to up your game, Bob. I know I'm lame. I just have.
I like
this,
it.
I just have this beautiful office. I mean,
yeah, it's a great office. Look at those bookshelves.
Behind this. Oh, that's what it is.
More office space.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you guys see the see the Zoom video with Betsy DeVos, where she was sitting in front of bookshelves, but there were no books on them?
Yes, I saw. I just saw the people making fun of her, and that's great. I don't know.
Oh, dude. Who was surprised? Raise your hand. Nobody. All right.
All right, Ben. I don't know what you're doing down there, but
Nobody does. It's a secret.
okay.
So
You ready?
I'm ready, man. I've been ready. I'm ready. I'm ready for always. Yeah, let's go.
Bob Crawford.
I'm Ben Sawyer, and this is the road to now.
Joe Kwon style.
Joe Kwon style.
I'm Joe Kwon, and this is the road to now.
Joe, I wrote a special song for you being here tonight.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it.
Yes. Joe Kwon. Joe
This is
Kwon.
not, you didn't write this.
On the road to now. Joe Kwon. Here he is.
This song has a much deeper meaning to it than,
so
than you're letting on.
We're going to go through all our jokes, all our bus jokes.
And it's going to be not funny to anyone but Bob and me. It's going to be
Can't wait.
Joe, we're so happy to hear. Gosh. Ugh.
You can't even
Joe,
say it
so
because it's not true. Joe, it's so good.
No,
Joe's here.
Hey,
Joe.
Kids fry my brain. Joe, it's so good to have you here with us tonight. Thank you for making time to be with us.
Oh, man. I'm honored to be asked, and I'm honored to be here, and it's so good to see y'all's faces and not just be texting ridiculous things back and forth to one another, but actually talking to you for once. It's nice. It feels
hopefully we'll
normal.
Say some ridiculous things.
I mean, I don't doubt that at all. Yeah. Oh, weird times.
I know that episode that we recorded like with the whole band on the bus back in like 2017, that wasn't ridiculous at all. So this, I expect nothing like that here.
Joe, did you bring us a plate of charcuterie?
No, I brought myself a drink though.
Oh, man. Well, I just have some water here in my Avett Brothers Dominican Republic. Yeti.
Oh, I see.
Oh,
I
Bob,
see. You got
I was ready for you. All I've got some is my Dr. Sawyer award-winning teacher mug that I got.
Hey, so. I'm actually double-fisted, okay? Yeah.
Oh, man. You should be getting money from them for showing that right there. It's messed up.
All right, Joe. Something I've always wanted to have you on to talk about. Your family's journey from South Korea to the United States. I think everyone would love to hear that story, your origin story, the story of your birth and your family's immigration to the United States.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird story. I was an accident, speaking of my birth, very, very nearly aborted accident. My sisters are 7 and 10 years older than me, and my mom, when she got pregnant with me, was what they would call a high-risk pregnancy for that time, and it was before all the testing that we have now. And the doctor did recommend abortion for me. And my mom missed her appointment because she got sick with something. I don't remember the exact story. And the only reason I know these stories, by the way, is because my wife, the day after we got married, we were on a vacation with my family because my dad was sick. And so it was the only opportunity we had to go and do these things together as a family. But she just started like grilling my mom about all the questions that I had growing up that I was not afraid to ask, but it's just expected that you don't talk about these things. As Koreans, you don't really talk about like these weird things from your past. So I found out all these things over this beach trip, AKA honeymoon, with our whole family. So I, obviously was born because my mom missed her appointment with the doctor the first time. And by the time she could reschedule, she was too late in term. And so here I am, lucky me. And then I came out and I was a hellion for all of my years. But we moved to Archdale, North Carolina, which is, obviously where all the Koreans moved to, is Archdale, North Carolina. It was actually the place where my aunt lived, and she and her husband were brought there through a program, which I want you guys to inform me on because it was kind of loosely explained to me through my mom, but there was a program in the 70s to bring foreign professionals to rural cities in America. And he was a primary care physician. from South Korea, and he was moved to Archdale, North Carolina to set up a family practice.
That's interesting that you went from living in South Korea to moving to the North Korea of North Carolina.
Of North Carolina, yeah. So we moved there, and my aunt, she had been there for a few years, and she called my mom's like, it's amazing here, so much land, right? It's not like Korea where you really are living on top of each other. Everything's cheap, and it's a great place to be. So we moved to Archdale in 1981. I was born in 1980, and moved into this tiny branch home, which I still to this day remember because I love the look of it now because of the whole architecture thing. It's this old ranch from the 50s probably that was in Archdale, North Carolina, with a big front yard and a big backyard. And in 1985, we moved to High Point, which is where I spent most of my young adult life before going to California for high school and then going to UNC Chapel Hill for college. Yeah.
Were you in California for all 4 years of high school? And where did you go to high school in California?
No, so I was in California for 2 years, my junior and senior years only. And I went there because there was no orchestra in my high school in North Carolina. It was just not a part of the curriculum that existed. There was band, but orchestra wasn't a thing. But I did play in this regional symphony called Greensboro Symphony Youth Orchestra, which was an amazing time for me in terms of understanding how to listen in a setting like that, which I think orchestra playing is such an important part of a young classical musician's career because it teaches you that you're not just you are part of this bigger thing, which is an orchestra, and all has to move together, and it looks better if you move together in the same ways and you breathe together, and kind of teaches you the understanding of all those cues that you pick up. So in order to get a more deep education in that, my cello teacher at the time suggested to my parents that I go to a performing arts high school. And in the States, there are two big ones. It's Idlewild Arts Academy and Interlochen in Michigan, which we've played at.
Mm-hmm.
Being a...
So I'm getting some thumping, I think, on your end. Something's thumping.
I think that's my med ball that I'm sitting on. No worries. In my angsty years, I was like, well, I want to get as far away from my parents as possible. So I didn't want to go to Interlochen because that's in Michigan, and Michigan's closer to North Carolina than Idlewild is, which is in California. And so I chose Idlewild, and luckily was able to get a good scholarship and got to attend there 2 years. But it was great. Yeah.
So then you went to college, and you ended up you came back to North Carolina for college?
Yep. UNC Chapel Hill. I didn't get into any of the art schools that I wanted to because, and I've told this story before, but I was a total, I let my ego get ahead of me as early as junior year of high school. When I went and auditioned at this high school, private boarding school, I auditioned well, and I got seated first cello. I walked onto the varsity team and was a starter more or less, and I got to sit first cello, and I just thought to myself, well, man, I'm the best cellist here too,
Oh no.
Which is the worst thing that could have happened to me.
Yeah, it is, man.
Because it just really made me slack off. Like I was like, well, I'm already good, so why should I work hard? And the reason is because everyone else wanted that seat, and they took it from me the rest of my years in high school. I never sat first cello again. And I did not get into all the conservatories that I applied for because I didn't work my ass off like everyone else did. And it was like totally a backup for me to go to UNC. My whole family went to UNC. My cousins went to UNC. I think we have 14 people from my family who went to UNC Chapel Hill. And I was like, I don't want to go there. Everyone else went there. And I didn't get in anywhere else. And so I went to UNC, begrudgingly for sure. And it was tough because that was when I was like, I'm done with music. I knew I could never be a classical musician after that, and kind of gave up on it in a way. But yeah.
But then you didn't give up on it.
Well, because of, as you know, my buddy Leon Godwin, who Bob knows Leon. Leon's an amazing. He was the best man at my wedding.
I gotta say the greatest best man speech of all time.
Easily,
hands down.
Yeah.
Leon Godwin, Joe Kwon's wedding.
It was amazing. But Leon got me playing outside the realm of classical music. He's the guy responsible for me playing non-classical.
But didn't you graduated UNC? You worked for IBM.
Yeah,
and then
I went down
you
that
went back to UNC Greensboro, right?
For grad school
for
to get my music masters. Yeah, and it was honestly the Avett Brothers that got me from finishing my masters because I wanted to keep touring, So I asked UNC Greensboro. I was like, "Well, can I take a leave?" They're like, "Listen, you go do your thing. You can come back if you want to."
Joe, you could probably get your masters now between right now and when we start playing again.
That's a good point. I probably could, but I don't think I have the work ethic for it anymore.
Wait,
it's too easy to go.
If you can do all those squats, you can get your masters.
Bob, I remember that Scott was thinking about going to grad school, and then you guys got Merlefest, and you guys went in, and you were going to grad school too, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
So
for music theory.
The only way to get into the Avett Brothers apparently is to apply to graduate school and almost go and ask for an extension and then never come back.
That's
As
right.
Tim Mousberger chimes in, yes, Scott was going to go to Florida. Yes. Yeah. Scott had a much bigger scholarship on the line than I did. I had a very small scholarship to go to Ohio University, not Ohio State, the Bobcats, Ohio University in Athens, Ohio. And my scholarship was like $250. Scott's was like $40,000.
I went into debt for music school. That's a bad idea.
No, it wasn't.
Wait, Joe,
no, it wasn't.
Joe, did you play music in the orchestra at Chapel Hill?
I did. Yes. So I don't like telling this story just because it comes off as kind of gloaty, but I really hate telling this story. I'll try not to sound so gloaty. I got seated second cello at UNC. Was not happy
about dealing with.
Exactly. I was like, Joe doesn't sit second chair to anyone. And the reason this sounds bad is because the first chair cellist was out sick one day, and there's a solo in this piece that we were playing that they asked me to fill in because second chair. I played it, and then like a week later, the girl quit orchestra or something. Like that was like a month or something. And then I got first chair. Sorry.
Why did she quit?
I don't know, but I don't.
Joe, I think you know. I think there's something going on here.
I hope nothing. I hope it would. She was a senior. I was a freshman. It should have never happened that way.
Somebody threw a brick through her window with a note on it and said, "You better go to the orchestra now."
Yeah, and then all of a sudden I sat first chair at UNC for the remainder of my years.
Which I think is funny because, Joe, you transcended all of that because you were worried about chairs, and now you don't even use one.
That's brilliant. Yes, Ben, you are correct.
You can't third chair me. I'll stand up. And they were like,
I'm not going to sit down.
And Yo-Yo Ma came to town one day, right?
He did. So, I played for Yo-Yo Ma. I think this was maybe my junior year. And again, I just wasn't into playing. No, it wasn't my junior year because the junior year is when I pushed music to a minor. that's when I went to computer science. But I think it was like sophomore year or something like that. And I got to play for Yo-Yo Ma, and I almost knocked over his $12 million cello right before I was supposed to play for him. And the only reason I know this is because the whole audience, as I'm like adjusting my seat to get comfortable to play for Yo-Yo Ma, and I scooch my piano bench back, and the whole audience stops and gasps. And I'm like, what on earth could I have possibly done? And Yo-Yo's cello was right behind my piano bench. And I almost knocked it over. And he just, in his very graceful way, as he's always is, he walks up to the stage. He goes, "You break it, you take it."
I kind of figured that maybe you were trying to do it because you were like, "Oh, this guy thinks he's a bigger cellist than me. We'll see about that."
I'm for a cello.
Joe Kwon, the motley crew of the cello.
Yeah, no, it was great, but because he's just truly like one of the most gracious and grateful people that you'll come across in that world of music, of classical music, and he's definitely exceeded classical music. He's just a musician of all sorts at this point. But
he's a cellist who's a household name.
Yeah,
he is the cellist who's a household name. There are no others. It's an amazing he's an amazing person, and that is an amazing feat for sure for a cellist to be there.
Joe, talk about when you began playing the cello. How old were you? Why?
Why the cello?
Who influenced you? Yeah. How much pressure did your mother put on you to do it?
Yeah. So the story starts at an earlier age from the cello, because my mom was a piano teacher. My dad was a choral director, and my sisters played piano. And when I was very young, 3 years old or so, my mom started me on piano lessons herself. And even as a 3-year-old, I must have been defiant, because I don't recall those lessons being more than like a month or something like that. And I think my mom was like, he's a lost cause. But my family being as musical as they are, everyone in the family has some sort of musical thing that they do. My sister plays cello, my elder sister, plays cello and piano. The middle sister, Ginny, plays violin and piano. My dad plays piano and sings. My mom plays piano and sings. There was always some sort of opera playing in the house and in the car and anywhere you were. My dad played Handel's Messiah at Christmas time every morning, a different movement, and it was just like the thing that happened. And so when I didn't play anything as a 3-year-old, my mom woke me up as a 9-year-old and was like, "You're going to go take a cello lesson." And I was like, I don't own a cello, and I've never even seen a cello. And was thrown into this house of this lady, Ruby Wenzel, High Point, North Carolina. She was a private teacher who played for 2 presidents.
Which one?
She had, this was in 1989 that I started taking from her. So it was Reagan and Carter.
So she had played for Carter, and then she played for Reagan.
Yeah. So went to the White House and did all of that. And she was from the Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia, and then I guess, or which way did that go? Did it become the Czech Republic?
Would have been Czechoslovakia if she was there.
Czechoslovakia, yeah. So she was from the Czechoslovakia. Her husband was a luthier, so he would rehair my bows and fix my cello. She would teach cello out of her, small home in High Point. And she just was like the most lovely person you could ask to be a cello teacher, because she was so nurturing, but she was still stern. Like she still had that sternness of like just someone who's going to tell you if it's wrong or if it's bad, not beat around the bush, but at the same time be like, but you're doing a great job. Like you just need to practice more. And that's really all it comes down to is you're doing well. You just need to practice more. And she was such a champion of me from the very beginning. My first cello lesson, Emily doesn't believe this, but like, cause she also doesn't like these kinds of like origin stories where you're like, I knew I was going to be a cellist when, you know, but after that first cello lesson, I was like, I understand this instrument. Like, I get it. After one lesson, I came out, I was like, I want to be a cellist when I grow up at 9 years old. Little did I know I would end up the way that I did. You know, I thought I was going to be a soloist, which not good enough for that, which was very clear. I found that out when I was 16, that I was not good enough for it. But it just felt right in my hands. The mechanics of it felt right. Whereas piano, you know, I wish so much that I could have stuck with the piano, because I feel like it's such an important instrument for all musicians. But I was stuck with the cello at age 9.
So, well, first of all, you know, we've had some questions rolling in from patrons. Brownman Betts, you've already answered the question about, had a question about, you know, if you'd ever played in an orchestra, and it was yes. And it was actually, has Joe ever played in an orchestra and would he want to? The answer is yes, he has. Would he want to? Depends on where he's sitting. But Tanya Marsh just asked, she just writes in, Riley, who's 14, has been studying cello for 3 years and would like to know how Joe like, sorry. And would like to know how Joe got started playing music other than classical. How did you make that jump? Because it does seem like, I mean, from my perspective, right? I remember seeing the cellist with Nirvana and you know.
Yeah. Who's now in, who she started a band. Yeah, she did. Oh crap. What's the name of that band, Bob?
But
all right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing that and like understanding the power of cello, but I don't remember there being like, I'll tell you that I'll fan on you for a second, Joe. Like, I don't remember someone being able to be a rock star and a cellist. Like, and I know that word is like pejorative in that sense, but it's like to go on stage and just destroy. And because even cellists I saw play, they sat down, right? I mean, they were like, there was like a space on the stage that was a different world where they were.
Yeah.
And I saw you play for the first time, I think in 2007, and was like, what's that guy doing? That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So unique. So like, where how did you make that jump?
The jump there are 2 jumps. The jump to playing non-classical music happened after college while I was working at IBM. My buddy Leon Godwin, he was the one who, he kind of egged me on a lot. He was like, you've been playing cello your whole life. You can play these complex classical pieces, but you can't just like jam out with me while I play guitar. And I was like, no, I can't. I don't know what that means. And he pushed and pushed and pushed. You know, he's like, well, I think you're full of shit. So, I think you're full
You
of
can say that.
Okay.
That's a podcast.
And he just kept egging on me. And finally I was like, okay, I'll play alongside you if you'll just play some stuff. And he was like, okay, you know, obviously just started playing and it made sense. I don't approach it nearly the same way that, say, like a jazz musician should. I just listen and I'm like, I know what key we're in and I can play around that, which is why I am the worst person to ask about keys in any Avett songs, because I still do that. I still just play around sonic.
He really doesn't know what's going on.
I don't know what's going on at all. I play around sonic norms, or on stage, and I'm like, okay, well they're playing in this realm, and I'm playing in this realm. Okay, that's cool. We'll fit in there.
What string? What fret? What string? What fret? Which one is it?
Yeah, I'm like, hey, I don't need a key to know what notes to play. I can listen.
True. Sure, that's true, and that's wonderful.
Yeah, and so Leon was the reason I got out of playing classical music only, and we started a band together, playing as the Red Rockets. It was me, Leon, and this guy that Leon grew up with, Lucas McLaughlin, who is also a lovely, lovely human being. Mm-hmm. And we just played around town, playing bars and coffee shops just for fun. None of it at all was serious. It was very much just goofing around Chapel Hill. and it was for a long time just playing around Chapel Hill because we knew everyone in Chapel Hill. We all were.
What years were these?
Oof, this would have been 2002, 3, 4. I graduated UNC Chapel Hill in 2002. Started working for IBM right away, and was playing with Leon the whole time and Lucas the whole time. And then met a couple other people. This accordion player, Ingrid Stenzel, who's a nutcase in the best way possible. Super talented multi-musician, played accordion first though. That was her like instrument, which was so cool. We were like, play.
She was from
Germany.
Wisconsin.
She was from Wisconsin, but yeah, she was German. I'm like, oh, it just fits that narrative so well. She's a German Wisconsin resident who plays accordion. I'm like, yeah. And we slowly picked up like instrumentalist after instrumentalist and became a 7-piece band. Once we had a band, we met this guy. His name is Jake Frysinger, and he was a defensive lineman for Michigan University, and he could have gone pro, but decided to play music, moved to Chapel Hill, and he was massive. Like, like a big defensive lineman. When he was playing football, he was 285 pounds. Just a huge human being holding this tiny looking guitar and playing love songs. And we're like, this guy's great. And that's where the band Big Pretty, his name was Big Pretty. We formed a band called Big Pretty and the Red Rockets. And we're playing around town and just having fun. And then this would have been in 2006. The Avett Brothers were playing a festival in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Barbecue fest.
Yeah. It was
because bands love barbecue.
Yeah, bands love barbecue. And, we had heard of the Avett Brothers before because of a MySpace invitation from the band to like the band's page.
You got to get people to like you,
Which we later found out was Dane Honeycutt's fault that we even got the invitation because he was sending out like 100 invitations a day from MySpace.
Remember when you used to get an invite from somebody and you thought they really like wanted you?
Yeah. Well, Dane did because it's Dane.
Well, if you had known it was Dane, you would have already friended him. So
yeah, exactly. So that's how we found out about the Avett Brothers, and we were like, we listened to their music on their MySpace page, and we're like, oh, this is awesome. And then they were playing the same night that we were playing Rubber Soul in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. But they were playing earlier, obviously, because we were playing the like 2 a.m. kind of realm. We were ending around 2 a.m. They were ending around like 10. So we went and saw them, but we didn't pay the like $5 cover to go see them play. We just stood outside the 3-foot gate that was keeping us from being inside for $5.
Right, it's kind of ridiculous to sell tickets for that event because it was pretty much.
What was the venue?
It was a parking lot, more
like a parking lot. Was it?
Yeah. And then
it was a parking lot. Okay,
the parking lot.
Sorry.
So we go back and we play our set, and who walks in during our second set, other than the one and only Bob Crawford, comes into Rubber Soul and watches us play, and he introduces himself because we already knew who he was.
Leon name dropped me or something on stage.
Yeah, he was like, "That's the guy from the Avett Brothers." But we were playing to like 10 people at Rubber Soul too. So
no, it was like 26.
20 people.
I counted.
So you say it was like 2 a.m.?
It was close to that, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Bob, you had just woken up.
That was back when I was much younger then.
Yeah.
I used to like go out and stuff and do stuff.
Yeah, Bob used to like go out.
Man.
Not really.
I'll be in bed sleeping by 10:45. Like what time is it now? Well,
it's like 9:30 or something.
Yeah, my day is almost over.
And that's how I met the Avett Brothers, was through Bob Crawford. So after that, Bob, after we played our set, came up to us on stage. We're like, "Oh, you guys are like so fun." And I'm working on a side project called New Jersey Transient. Would you guys like to come and play along sometime? And we did. So Ingrid and Leon and I we recorded some stuff. We played some weddings.
It was so fun. It was
so fun.
And it was just like you saw these guys, and it was just so quirky. But
we were very quirky. Yeah.
In the best possible way. And I always like bands like They Might Be Giants or things like that are just kind of like odd instrumentation and weird influences. And man, it was just so great. You guys were so great that night. I was just so taken by the whole thing. It was really awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, it's also a bold move, honestly, to start when you're starting out to have a band with 7 people in it.
Yeah.
I only know the part of the bands when you're in bands when it's like you're trying to hustle and make it, and it's like the best bands I was ever in were like 3 pieces because I only had to get 2 other people to find a time they could show up, and then you had to split the $50 you made off the door 3 ways. You know, I mean, there's no way you're in a band with 7 people unless everyone loves it and wants to be doing it.
And they had a bus too at that point. They had a bus.
We had a bus. Yeah.
They had a bus.
It was an old like international school bus that ran some of the time, but we had a bus. It was converted.
I was on the bus that night.
Oh yeah.
Bob was like, could it get any better than this? Could it get any better than this? I'm going with these
guys. So let's do some questions. Dale Martin wants to know what kind of headphones you got, Joe.
Oh yeah. These are
what's the
they're Master and Dynamics. I don't know if I can hold on.
Yeah, they're nice.
Yeah. They're nice. They're Bluetooth, but I forgot to charge them, so they're wired now.
And Brown Betts wants to know what you've been reading during the COVID.
So, as you know, Bob, I'm not a huge reader. I have been reading way too much New York Times, though, like a depressing amount. And it's depressing. It's also depressing, but not to be too depressing. We're having a good time here, so we won't talk about that too much.
And Tim Mossberger points out that the Big Pretty and Red Rocket CD is available on Amazon.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That must be from Leon's closet.
Yes, because Tim knows everything.
Everything. I know. Tim does know everything. And I love that he knows everything because I'll ask him questions that I can't remember the answers to. It's great.
All right, I'm going to give a shout out to Tim Mossberger because I sat down today to like get ready for this episode and was like, all right, I should I don't want to like be lazy because I know you and like, we hung out, but like, I was like, I'm going to do some real research. What was Joe's first show with the band? Like all these things. And I sit down and like 15 minutes before I sat down, Tim Mossberger had sent me messages on Facebook and was like, here's a video of the first song that Joe ever played with them. And here's
what was the first song?
It was
wait, let me say, can I say it? It was New Year's Eve.
It was not New Year's Eve. It was the day before. The night before.
And was Sarah Avett? Was she playing too? She played violin. If it's the Beaches or something.
She did play violin as well. We were playing in Raleigh at Lincoln Theater.
Right.
29th, not the 30th. It was the 29th of December, 2006. I played maybe 3 songs with y'all. Go to Sleep, If It's the Beaches, and Will You Return? I believe. I could be wrong.
Well, because we needed you for that.
Exactly. Oh, and the lowering, he says.
Yeah.
Which, man, there you go. Yeah. Oh, so the story of me standing and playing, it is 100%. It started that day. That was the first time I stood and played was when.
Well, you stood with Big Pretty.
No.
A little bit. I thought when I saw
I sat on a high stool.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't until I started playing with y'all. For one thing.
I must have had a couple beers that night because I was like, this cello player is levitating.
I was also playing an electric instrument then, which was a big no-no for the Avett Brothers.
You don't ever bring that around there.
No, you don't want to do that. But, hey.
You guys ready for this?
Yeah.
All right. Wait. Man, come on. That was supposed to be like momentous. I was like ready to – okay. Ready? Okay, here goes.
Oh, boy.
I don't want to watch this.
Take your medicine, Joe.
That song was a hit back then too.
Don't say it's over, 'cause that's the worst news I could hear.
I don't see you,
swear
Joe.
that I will.
I don't play until about halfway through the song, Ben.
All
Just the way
What? There's
Technical difficulties.
Dane's coming up to change your cello string. Yeah.
it's the beaches sands you want and you will have them. It's the mountains bending rivers.
It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to see.
Take whatever you think of. I will go gas up the truck. Like the old love letters up. We will read them when we
I cannot imagine how nervous I must have been right here. No Sarah Avett.
Stop your music. Somebody threw a brick through a window. There we go. All right. Just
Man, blast
little-
from the past.
there you go. A little bit of this is your life. All right. Let's turn the screen share off there. All
Those
right,
looking
where's
to
that?
make their
Okay,
comeback
that's
during
enough.
this economic slowdown.
Side note, you guys can still see that, but that is my own university advertising to me constantly on YouTube. I would just love to have the amount of money they spend on ads advertising for me to go to their master's degree program. Anyway, back up. Do you remember that? How well do you remember that, Jeff?
Not at all. God, I mean, my adrenaline must have been just through the roof at that point, to be honest with you. Like, don't remember it even a little. And this is totally something that I'm very used to. I know that adrenaline makes me forget everything just because, like, in the moment, I remember it. Like, I can, like, zero in on it and be, like, super attentive, but then as soon as it's over, it's gone. But I do remember feeling very nervous for that moment. And you notice I'm sitting down. It's a thing. The reason I started standing was because these guys are so freaking crazy on stage. And I just could not contain the energy that they were putting off. And like that was the reason I started standing. And the reason I even knew how to stand and play was because this cellist I went to summer camp with at Interlochen, in 1998, or 97, I got this governor's scholar to attend Interlochen summer program, which was like an 8-week, like super intensive classical camp. And we were walking from one rehearsal to another rehearsal. And this cellist, who's a dear friend of mine, we kept in close touch. Her name's Clarice Jensen. She was walking down from one rehearsal to another next to me. She was playing her cello while we were walking. And I was like, oh my God, how are you doing that? And she showed me how to do that. And so that's the person that I thought about. And that December 29th, 2006, when these guys are going crazy on stage, I'm like, oh, I got to do what Clarice did and play with my cello behind my neck. And that's when it all started. And now I feel like the Avett Brothers should pay for my chiropractic exams because I've got a bad neck.
So this is one of those things that really is, I feel like when you're getting ready to go on stage, you're like, oh my God, I can try this thing. And it didn't
even happen that way, Ben. I was on stage and I'm like, I can't sit still right now. I'm going to try this thing.
And you like flash back and you were like, I remember she taught me. Like,
yeah, I totally was like, oh, I could do the thing Clarice did.
that is so awesome.
And I did it, and it felt off, but it was okay enough to push through, and that's how it all started. And now I have this weird bump on my shoulder, which Bob knows about too. And my doctor looked at it. He's like, do you need to get that biopsy? I'm like, no, it's
doctor. Yeah.
I'm like, it's gotten smaller since we haven't been playing shows for the past 4 months.
Then you don't need to get a biopsy.
Yeah. He was like,
Your cello
okay.
muscle, Joe, is getting weak.
Cello muscle, yeah.
There's a good question here. Laura, and I don't want to butcher your last name, Caratinudo writes, what made you guys decide to switch sides on stage?
Yeah, I don't remember that either. And I honestly think it was a balance issue.
I think it was as well.
There was like an optical balance issue that was going on.
Scott is he's obsessed with the way the stage looks.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, that's probably what
I feel like that's what it was, because he felt like, wasn't the... We had a weird setup back then when it was just the 4 of us, where the drums were kind of cockeyed to the right side, and then the
one side of the stage was balanced, but it kind of made sense as far as you and I framing them.
Yeah, framing them. Yeah.
Worked, but yeah.
I think that's what it was. Yeah, all these little decisions that seem huge at the time.
Yeah.
That now we're just like, I don't remember.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's the thing, like, that's interesting, is any little thing on stage makes such a huge impact as to how things feel. I remember when we were trying to move things around slightly a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if I can do this, guys. Like, that's going to be really loud in my ears, kind of being a diva about it.
Maybe I should move over to that other chair, the one down. Maybe I should move to the first chair. Is there one?
A first chair? Do you have a first chair? Because I'll take that. I'll take that chair. Yeah.
I thought I saw another question here.
There's a couple in the Q&A.
Yeah, there we go. There they are. Joe, is a lot of pressure being the funniest band member on Twitter?
That's from Austin Sawyer. So
yeah, I know.
Who's the funniest?
I would say Joe's the angriest band member on Twitter.
I would say I'm the angriest. Yeah, I would say I'm the angriest. But and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I feel comfortable being the angriest person on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm okay being, I don't know, yelled at by. It's not even yelled at.
So here's something I want to talk about this.
Yeah.
Racism that you've experienced.
Yeah.
Because you've experienced it throughout your life. Yeah. And you've experienced it recently.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty common. There's a whole thing about microaggressions going on right now. People are having all sorts of discoveries right now in terms of everything. Like, people are going through all sorts of discoveries about themselves, about what they're able to handle right now during this pandemic. But there's a big thing about microaggressions right now. And there are a whole bunch of microaggressive, racist things that happen that no one considers to be racist, except for the people who are experiencing them. And for people like me, I'm like, well, those are microaggressions that appear as racist. And I'm not going to say anything because I'm not offended by them. I'm understanding of people's blind spots when it comes to these things that they don't realize, right? Because I'm sure I'm guilty of such things as well. Emily is one of these people who seems hyper vigilant and aware of things that are potentially, or not just even potentially, but factually either misogynistic, racist, based in some biases or something. She's super quick to pick up on them, and super quick to point them out. And it happens a lot when we're watching a show. She'll be like, ugh. And I can tell there's something that offended her about it. I'm like, well, what happened? And she says like, oh, this thing is something that is said when it's just some sort of microaggression or some sort of racism that's appearing in, mass media that no one realizes is a racist stance, so it's great to have someone like that on my side who's constantly pointing these things out, because then she catches me, and in a way she's my filter. Like if I'm going to put something online, I'm like, Emily, read this. Am I coming off biased in any way, or misogynistic, or is this the right way? Do I come off this way? And she'll be like, no, I don't think you come off that way, and so I'll post it. But she's such a good barometer for that. So there are a lot of things that are happening right now. Obviously, some of them are just overt racism, like the lady who tweeted me. She wrote, so I responded to a Trump tweet that was just butchered grammatically. And all I said was, I don't think you understand how adjectives work. That's all I said. And this lady tweeted me Chinese, me make joke, me put PP in your Coke. And I was like, oh,
I remember that.
That's fun,
She was like, sorry, in second grade, I was too busy learning this chant to learn about adjectives. So let's just.
Oh, you know what? Now that I'm thinking, that was not the tweet she responded to. The tweet she responded to was the president justifying the Washington Redskins and the Kansas City Chiefs keeping their names. And I said, your racism showing. And then that's what she tweeted me, which of course.
Her racism showing.
Her racism, This is a topic that I've talked about with my wife, Emily, a lot, how the biggest thing that I've noticed is that hypocrisy is lost on a lot of people right now, on both sides. It is just 100% lost. There's this whole thing where you're defending a position by being hypocritical of the position. And this happens because I think it's a blind spot. I think when you're thinking about yourself as being an individual, you don't see this thing as being racist, right? That lady probably thought she was being funny instead of realizing that, oh, that's racism as well, And, it's funny because to me, I put it out there because people tell me all the time, racism doesn't exist in the United States. Obviously, that's as far off the freaking map as you can imagine. And it's important for me to point out, oh, this is what racism looks like, y'all. Just for everyone out there who thinks that racism doesn't exist, this just happened to me today. It doesn't offend me. To me, I'm just like, oh, another person who's racist who doesn't realize it.
Well, because I remember you telling me situations in college that of racism you experienced.
Yeah, it happened a lot in college.
But then I was shocked that it happened blatantly to you after the election.
It happened to be blatantly in Boston. Yeah, when Emily was up at Harvard getting her for a postdoc. And I was splitting my time between Raleigh and Harvard and Cambridge. And I had just gotten off the airplane and was waiting for the Silver Line to take me into Cambridge. It's a free bus line that takes you to Cambridge. And the marquee that says how long the next bus is going to be, it went from 2 minutes to 45 minutes. Just kept switching, 2:45, 2:45. And this other lady walks up and she was like, is it really 45 minutes until the next Silver Line? I was like, oh, no, I don't think it is. It's probably just it's been switching between 2 and 45. And out of nowhere, this lady walks up and she's like, you can take the so-and-so instead. And she's like, you don't have to take that Silver Line. And I was like, oh, no, I know that. The Silver Line's more direct for me. I just like to take the Silver Line. It takes me practically right to my apartment. And she was like, I don't talk to, and she pulls her eyes to the side. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? So this is something that most people don't know about me, but I'm not very nice when it comes to people who are blatantly mean to me. I get up in their face, and I threatened to throw her in front of a bus because I was like, I'll throw you in front of a bus, bitch. And she started, like, I was standing over her and yelling at her because this lady was so fucking clueless. And luckily, this lady who saw this thing happen, she was like, holy shit, did that lady just do that? And I was like, thank God you're here because you saw this happen. And so we rode on the Silver Line all the way back, and I was just like fuming, because she took me from 0 to 11 in one comment. And that happens. I was pissed about that one.
Well, as you should have been, but it just, because I was shocked, to the extent to understand how much racism you experienced, because obviously I haven't lived your life and I haven't walked in your shoes. But even in the band, you and I would like tweet something, of the same position, or even maybe a picture with a politician or something like that. And then maybe one person would respond negatively to me, and you'd get 7 or 8 people respond negatively. Yeah. I always thought, man, that kind of occurred to me. Like, it's because Joe's Asian that he's getting these responses.
Yeah, maybe. We can't really delve in right to the heads of the people who do respond. It's very clear on each platform is so different. I really wish someone would do a study about this, because I think it has to do with the demographics of each of the platforms too, because Facebook is just riddled with racism. Like, it's the worst by far. Twitter is second, and Instagram is trailing at the end. Like, very few people post negative comments on Instagram, but I've noticed the highest concentration on Facebook by far, where if I don't even post anything negative on Facebook anymore, because the Avett Brothers family fan group is such a strong contingent of folks that they will back you up. And I just don't like people to get so ugly towards one another. Even if it's because they're supporting me, I'm like, ugh, I don't want to be a part of the problem on Facebook. Whereas for some reason, Twitter feels okay. Like, it's so temporary on Twitter. One moment you're at 11, the next moment you're retweeting a funny political thing from someone else.
But Twitter, I think the thing about Twitter that's interesting is that, with Facebook, it's interesting that Facebook comes across as more racist, because that's the place where you are who you are, right? Like, your name's on there, pictures of your family are on there. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just don't have
I didn't even think about that.
On Twitter, and on Twitter, it's like, I guess you can follow somebody on Facebook. I don't know that many people that do it, but on Twitter, it's like, it's far more like asymmetrical, right? Like, I can follow you and you don't have to follow me back, right?
Yeah.
So, with this, it's like anyone who's following you has a choice to unfollow you.
Yeah.
Right. So like, if someone's in there on Twitter, it's like they looked for it.
Yeah. Like, it's almost like they're ready to argue.
Yeah. It's odd. I don't know. It's weird to me, like, how many people will say, like, you're talking about the hypocrisy. How many people will say, I'm tired of all these people whining about racism. It's just an excuse. If all these black people would just stop whining and get a job. You're like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Like, how did you go from racism isn't real, why are these people whining, to blatantly being racist in your explanation of what they should do?
And I think it's a blind spot, and it sucks. Like, it sucks because it happens in our families. It's so much closer than it is just some an anonymous person on Twitter. Like, it happens in families, and how do you approach that? How do you have that discussion? I just did a talk with UNC not too long ago about this too, like, because Korean families are very racist, there's just a lot of deep-seated racism in the old generations of Korean families. And this was for the Asian Student Association's new center that they finally have at UNC. And so they had me on to talk about race. And one of the topics was like, how do you talk to your parents about these things? Like, how do you talk to your parents about Black Lives Matter? Where in a Korean family, like, there's just a very racist point of view that the younger generation is trying to combat, about how do you get your parents to understand that Black people are just as important as white people, as Asian people, you know, and they contribute just as much to the society as everyone else does. And it's this very difficult thing, because in Asian culture, you're taught to not make a ripple in the water, right? You're taught, just be silent. Don't cause a stir. And so it's a very tough thing to have to go to your parents who are anti-gay, anti-lesbian, you know, anti-anything, anti-trans. They couldn't even fathom trans rights. And how do you go to them and say, you're wrong? You know, it's not something that happens very often. And I think growing up with a very like progressive grandfather, my grandfather was an extremely progressive human being, like so much so that it still blows my mind, the stuff that he would say. It was an opportunity for me to have those conversations with my parents, because I knew my grandfather would have my back, and they couldn't talk back to him. And so when someone would say, like, you know, someone being, you know, my mom or my dad, my mom's definitely grown out of a lot of these old world mentalities, but my dad was very conservative. You know, he grew up with no money in rural South Korea. You know, he grew up in Korean War, his mother, you know, fleeing with him. So he had super conservative views.
Incheon, where your family's from, was like a focal point of the Korean War, right?
Right.
I mean, it's where the American troops landed first.
It's right there at the DRC. No, not the DRC. DMZ. Yeah.
DMZ,
yeah. It's right up there at the DMZ, and like they lived, you know, this crazy fascism, but because of that, he had some conservative views, and he would say things about gays and lesbians, and I would have to be like, I'm just super sorry, but you're wrong. It's not okay to say these things. And my sisters were so on board with that, you know, like, we all grew up in America. We all understood that, you know, rights are rights. It doesn't matter what your political affiliation is, what your sexual, you know, preferences are. Being an immigrant kind of gave us a more frontline understanding of what that meant. And so we did butt heads with our parents a lot on these things. I remember as a teenager being like, that doesn't make any sense, because my dad was a minister on top of it, right? So I was like, this doesn't make any sense for your preachings. Like, it just does not make sense, because the freaking Bible, the one message of the Bible is love. That is the one message of the Bible. If you were to just freaking funnel it down to one thing, it's just love thy neighbor. That is the thing that it says. And
yeah, but there's a lot of other stuff in there for those who come to the Bible with other desires. And Sure. But the number one thing that Jesus taught was love. Oh, no. I know. My personal experience has been that anyone who has actually like approached the Bible with questions has come to the conclusion they should love people. But most of the other people were like, I'd like to hate somebody, but nobody wants to hate those people just because I say that I should hate them. So what if God wants to hate them? All right, cool. And like, that's a totally different relationship that people have.
It is. Yeah. But that was like the thing that was a difficult thing for me. It was just to be like, you're a minister. Like, of all the people, you should be the accepting one, right? And it was tough. And I was not very close with my dad. We had a very challenged relationship, I would say. I did not agree with him on a lot of things and a lot of his approaches, but there were several things, obviously. You can't grow up with a parent and not pick up several things from them. Like, I loved his love of photography. I loved his love of classical music. But there were things that I did not agree with, you know, and luckily I had sisters who backed me up and a mother who backed me up on these things. And
So your father was a preacher before you moved to the U.S., right?
he was ordained after we moved here.
Was he Christian before? I mean, was this a conversion
Oh
experience?
yeah. We were our family has a very deep relationship to Christianity because there's a crazy story about my great grandfather. So my grandfather, he died when he was 95 years old, but his father was one of the first Methodist missionaries in South Korea. So responsible for spreading Methodism in South Korea. And there's this crazy story, and I don't know the validity of this story at all, but it is told. So in Korea, you celebrate the anniversary of someone's death. It's something that you do. Like on my calendar, my dad's death is marked, my grandmother's death is marked, my grandfather's death is marked. It is a day that you like pay respects to the folks who have passed away. And my great-grandfather's death was, again, I don't know how true this is, but he was on a mission trip on a train and with a bunch of missionaries. And he was, they're going through parts of rural Korea, and he had either a premonition or like a message from God that said, you need to get everyone to the back of the train. So he went through the train and he moved everyone to the back of the train, and the train either derailed or crashed, and he died and everyone else was saved. And so this was like a story that was told in our family forever about my great-grandfather who saved people's lives spreading the Christian faith in South Korea. So, and then I'm not that Christian. I'm like the least Christian of everyone in the family because I have all these questions, that I don't know.
Those questions, you worship the devil, all those types of things.
I'm in a rock band.
Oh my God. No.
But you're in a pretty Methodist rock band.
I was going to say.
Yeah. We're in a pretty Methodist rock band.
So go ahead, Ben.
No, because my question was going to be like, how does growing up, because your father, right, he grew up Christian, like obviously they have the deep roots of Methodism in their understanding of the church. And then they go from living in this amazing, rapidly growing port city and in Korea. And then they're in the middle of rural North Carolina. And my question was like, how does that change the way they understand their faith? I mean, does your father have like the idea that influenced the way that he believed, or does it just feel like it was a natural projection? So,
God, I'm going to get so much shit for this. So there's like, Korea is pretty corrupt. It's very pay to play there.
Well, I'm glad you came here.
Yeah. So it's it's a lot worse than it is here. So this is something that my mom told us too, was like, Korea is like so much about pay to play, right? Like you pay, you get in the good universities, you pay, you get the good grades, you pay like, and my parents were like, that's not how it should be. They should work hard. They should achieve the things that they do on their own merits. I know my kids are smart, so we're going to go to somewhere that's less corrupt. And that's why they moved, supposedly. They thought we would have had better opportunities in America, which is such an American dream thing, right? Like your potential is just highlighted in America. And my parents believed that. And I think, look at all of the, both my sisters and I, like, we all did well. I definitely took the odd path, but we all did well. Like, we did better than my parents did. It's exactly what our parents would have wanted, was to do better than they did. And I mean, yeah, that's why they moved. It's the corruption, and I'm sure it happens here too, but it's just more expensive here.
It's more expensive.
So, Joe, did your grandfather loved that you were in the Avett Brothers?
Yes, he did.
And your dad eventually accepted it.
He accepted it. It's okay. So Time Magazine, everyone knows what Time Magazine is. My parents, they thought Time Magazine was like the top of the periodicals. We had this like 2-inch blurb in Time Magazine.
I remember this. Yeah.
No photo.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, "You made it. You made it to Time Magazine." This 2-inch blurb.
And Time Magazine was the top
It
one
was.
time.
Yeah,
At one
totally.
time.
Ah.
Hey, so let's get to some questions here. Emma Fritz Caps, stealing a question from one of my favorite podcasts. When is a time that you remember laughing really hard?
Oh, I laugh a lot, so that's not fair. I laugh at just about at anything because I think that life is just funny. Like, I'll watch movies that should not be funny that I laugh at. So I can't remember a time that. Oh, no, I'm not gonna.
With Joe was at our recording, a live recording in Chicago. You know, when I did stand-up comedy. So
I laughed really hard at that.
Yeah, that was the most serious I ever saw Joe, was that day.
Yeah, it was weird because afterwards you were like, "No, when I laugh, I just look down and shake my head. That's how I laugh." And I was like, "That's weird."
No, I can't. I honestly wish I could tell you the last time I had just like a guttural belly laugh.
It was probably in Dominican Republic. We weren't really.
It probably was because
it was, the year before.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'm
BC,
sorry, Emma.
All
right. Oh, I love this one. Laura Caratinudo. I hope I'm saying that right. Who in the band would you choose to be quarantined with, and why?
Oh, man, who would I want to be quarantined with? That's a good question.
Yes, you pronounced it. Oh, thank you so much, Laura. Thank you.
Yeah. You know what? Honestly, it might be Adam Coombs.
Ooh, interesting.
Because Adam is he can get me laughing in a way that no one else can because it's so dark.
Yeah.
Like, he's a dark human being that has dark views of things.
But when you know someone like that, they're really tender.
They're super tender.
Let's clarify. What does he do in the band?
He's a guitar tech.
He's Seth's tech.
Seth's tech. And
Adam, yours too, right, Joe? He helps you out as well.
Yeah, kind of. He doesn't tune my cello or anything. No one does that except me. But he sets my station up. But he's an interesting person because he's difficult to work with. But once you break through that that veil, like once you get in there, I feel like you're there. You know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of obviously, just like any workplace, there's gonna be heads butting, and it happens daily, just like any workplace. And
the thing about Adam is he's so tough exterior, or
softy interior. Yeah.
But if you're sad, you don't want to tell everybody you're sad. You can tell him you're sad.
Yeah.
And he gets it.
Like,
if you're in a bad mood,
he'll get it. He'll understand it.
You can give him the look that he understands because he's there too.
And you'll give him the look that says, "Don't talk to me," and he won't talk to you.
Right.
Like, for example,
or you can give him a look like, "These guys are idiots," and he says, "Yeah,
they're idiots.
They are."
Yeah.
So Marshall Hagley, who I always say is my cousin, and I'm so happy he's here. joining
Wait,
us.
where? Okay, sorry.
He's here.
Whoa, we have so many questions. I'm sorry. That's awesome.
How were you invited to join the band as a full-time member? Well, Marshall, he hasn't been invited yet. So your question is no.
That is not true, Bob. Bob invited me to be a full-time member of the band. It's one of those stories that is just so classic because it was one of the worst night. It was a Tuesday night at Spanky's that I got a call. I was working at Spanky's as a bartender.
Spanky's.
It's a
Chapel Hill legend, but
it's a legendary Chapel Hill bar. I've been there since the 70s, and that's where I met my wife. And I was working a really, really bad shift, closing shift on it was probably a Tuesday or a Monday or something like that. And it cost me, I remember this so vividly because it cost me $6 to park my car. This is important to the story. It cost me $6 to park my car. And I made $20 that night on tips. And I was I wasn't even making my mortgage payments at this point. I had to ask for help from my brother-in-law to make my mortgage payments. I was going to foreclose on a house if I didn't get help. And here I am trying to bartend and make money. And as miserable as it could have gotten in terms of just feeling defeated. I worked for 6 hours and made $20 and walked to the parking deck, and cell phones were not allowed in our workplace. We weren't allowed to have them on. We had to stash them off. We couldn't even have them on under the counter or something. So I turned my cell phone on. I'm sitting in my car, which I could not afford the payments on. I couldn't afford the payments on my insurance. I couldn't afford the payments on my house. And I was sitting there honestly, just questioning what on earth I was doing. This is after I had left IBM. And turned my phone on, and I had 4 voicemails. And Bob was one of the 4 voicemails, and he was asking me to join the Brothers full time. And this was in May of 2007 when this happened. And I remember that night changing from the worst dark moment to the best light-filled moment ever, and it was because of Bob's voicemail. I'll always be indebted to Bob.
Well. Yeah, and then he actually joined the band. He was like, "Oh, great, thanks."
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. Everyone knows how much I loved being a part of this band. I'm a lifer, as they say.
How about this question? We all are, Joe.
Yeah.
Have you always been passionate about cooking, or did it come about later in life? If you weren't a musician, do you think you would have been a chef?
No, I know too many restaurant owners to ever want to do that for a living. It's much harder than playing music is, and it's a lot less rewarding, it seems like. I always loved cooking, but my mom is a phenomenal cook. So are my sisters, and grew up watching my mom make meals for us, watching my grandmother who lived with us prepare us meals with so much love. They could have been the most simple, basic meals ever, but that love was there. It filled your soul with so much goodness because you knew they made this just purely out of the goodness of their hearts, and it felt that way growing up too. And I loved watching my mom, learning the techniques, learning how to cut something a specific way, learning to julienne carrots when I was 10 years old. I shouldn't have been holding a knife, but my mom was showing me how to do that, and it always stuck with me. And so therefore it just lived inside me as part of my being. Yeah.
Peggy Donica writes, would you say you will come out of quarantine better or worse?
I feel like the collective we will come out of quarantine better. I feel like I will come out of quarantine changed. I don't know. I won't know until afterwards whether or not it's better or worse.
Joe, are we halfway through or not even halfway through?
We're not even halfway through.
I agree with you, Joe.
Yeah.
Dale Martin writes, what venues stand out for you? Tanglewood, Portchester? I can imagine it's different for different members.
Yes. Tanglewood was a big moment for me because growing up, Tanglewood is the mecca of kind of like the classical, like the place where the people fall on. Like you go to Tanglewood because Yo-Yo Ma goes there every other year and he does seminars, and every freaking pro is at Tanglewood. Aspen's another one of those places like that. Tanglewood was big. Obviously, Red Rocks was massive because of the history of that space. The Gorge Amphitheater, massive. Berkeley Greek Theater, massive. The Greek LA. There are all these iconic venues. Fillmore West, Fillmore East. Mm-hmm. It's weird because I don't know if it's the same with you, Bob, but like you've heard about these places because of the historical nature of, Cat's Cradle even is an iconic venue. And when you first play it, it's like, oh, this is the Cat's Cradle. And then it makes sense after the fact. You're like, oh, that's the Cat's Cradle, right? Yeah. The first time I saw perform Cat's Cradle, I'm like, oh, it's kind of shitty. It's not.
Right. A lot of these places that are these famous venues, they're dives.
Yeah.
And they're famous because of what happened there before you got
what
there.
Happens there. Well, and because of how the people who go there make that show.
Yeah.
So many of these venues are nothing without the people who make the venue what it is, and I feel like Cat's Cradle is such one of those places. Like we played epic shows there,
yeah,
just fun. Same with Red Rocks. It's just one of those venues.
Which I should say now, I saw this posted that you guys have a performance from Red Rocks last year that's coming up through PBS, right?
Yeah, it will be part of the fund drive. So, what they do, they play 20 minutes, and then they talk for 4 hours, and they play 20 more minutes, and then they talk for 4 hours.
But that's awesome. I mean, I saw Dolph post about it and say that it like he was really proud of what you guys said.
It's the perfect home for us. It's the perfect
home for
us right now. And
it brought me shivers. Yeah.
Donate to PBS. Donate.
They're great.
Yeah. It's good.
Absolutely.
Truly. Yeah, I do feel at this point in our career, it is the place we should be represented. And it's an amazing concert. Like, I think one of the things that makes it so incredible is that we are in a quarantine, and when we see that sea of people again.
Yeah. It's so tough.
When will you see 9,000 people together other than at a Trump rally? Maybe, if you can get 9,000.
That's 9,000, probably not. But anyway, yeah.
But,
like 5,200. But
where are you going to see that? And even when concerts start back up, right? So you're going to have a vaccine, and some people are going to get it, some people aren't. It's rushed. People are going to be sketched out. They're still not going. They're not going to want to go to concerts.
No, I don't want to go to concerts.
Exactly. Do you want to live on a bus with me, Joe?
Yes.
Right now.
Yes.
Oh.
I trust you, though, Bob.
Yeah, but I don't trust you. Man, I miss our bus, Joe.
I do too. I miss Bonnie, our bus sister.
Miss Bonnie too. Yes.
I miss everything about touring right now, to be honest with you, because we're so far removed from it.
Yeah.
You don't remember all the difficult things until you're in there for 3 days, and then you
don't remember the exhaustion.
Yeah.
The Red Rocks concert, getting back to it, is just, it sounds amazing. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I look at it and I'm like, oh, we used to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely a moment of pride when I saw it, and I was like, oh, that's us.
Yeah.
That's us. Like, I can't believe, we used to do that, Bob.
I was doing this thing for Hallie tonight for her bath in bed, going, I'm an old man. She's like, she said, why are you talking like that? Because I'm an old man. Anyway, when I see Red Rocks, I feel like I'm an old man.
You're an old man.
Kristen Jorgensen writes, any dahlias growing? Did I say that right? I don't
You
even know
did. So we haven't bought a place here in California yet, so I haven't planned anything yet. But I think I probably at our Raleigh house, which is still for sale. Anyone who's moving to Raleigh should buy our house.
It's only $15.
Starting bid.
Starting bid, $15. I don't have any dahlias growing here yet, and I'm not sure if I'm in the right zone for it, to be honest with you. But we will find out as soon as we find a house to live in. Yeah.
Big White asks, are you listening to any good music, new good music, or revisiting any older music during the quarantine?
Oh, yeah, I'm that's the one thing I am doing is kind of diving into music more. I think Fiona Apple's new album that came out this year is really great. It's like a more refined version of her previous album. I've reached out to Alila Diane and reached out to Jill Andrews. Alila doesn't have a new album, but Jill does, coming out, maybe out now. And then I'm going back into listening to, you're going to laugh at this, but I'm like totally going like a deep dive into Beyonce right now.
Oh, laugh at that.
Why are you laughing at that?
It's kind of amazing. Like the Lemonade is a freaking amazing album, especially if you know like all the stuff that went on around it. It's like, damn.
She has one of those voices. Like my wife and I were talking about this because we watched Hamilton. I don't know if you guys.
Yeah, I haven't watched it
Yeah,
yet.
we did. Yeah.
Man, it's so incredible.
Yeah.
And I was saying like to my wife, and I was like even saying to my son, I was like, look, I instinctively tear up when I hear people who can sing like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I get goosebumps and my eyes just start watering, even if they're singing about anything. And I remember like the first time in forever that I saw someone sing like that was Beyonce. And it was Beyonce doing, it was like a live clip on YouTube. Somebody like filmed on a phone of her doing, like she went to, I can't remember, some country where she like helped with an orphanage, and she went around and like spent time with kids, and she sang Halo, like just sitting in a chair around these kids. And when she started singing, I was like, there's no production on this.
Yeah.
She was singing in a room. And like, that's the thing about Beyonce. How I don't understand how someone makes that noise. It's beautiful.
She's so good. So good.
Agreed.
And the writing's powerful. And I feel like it's in like Homecoming is such a fitting moment to what we're going through right now, you know, because she celebrated Black artists through that performance, which obviously she didn't know what was coming, but that's like such an amazing performance because she wanted Black artists to do all the performing at Coachella, her being the first Black
so amazing
female headliner ever to headline that festival. You know, it's just like such an amazing feat for her. And like there's this like weird camaraderie I feel where I'm like, yes, like that's what music's about, is like taking it to that level of like of experience for people and learning
and bringing people with you. And Joe, I think it's like, it's interesting that you say that she didn't know it was coming, but I mean, it's either this was coming where people are acknowledging it, or it was going to continue to go on, right? I mean,
yeah.
And it may still, if people lose their attention, because, you know, right now it feels good to be an advocate, but like maybe later on, it's, you know, you get back to work and you're busy. But I think
that's such a thing right now that I'm worried about, Ben. Like,
you too.
Are people going to forget? Like once their lives start again, that there are things that need to be done. Like, because it happens. The reason I worry about that is because it's happened over and over again, right? Like people are activists when it suits them, and then when life goes back to normal, they forget what they were pushed, what they were getting behind. A handful of people do not, but the majority do, and that's like such a difficult thing that I worry about what will happen.
Yeah, I think there's an argument to be made that this happened now because the world had stopped and everyone watched it, and we couldn't hide. It couldn't get covered up. And so we had to.
That was the general consensus in the episode that Lewis Woods recorded for us. I mean, he spoke to 5 amazing scholars. If you guys haven't listened to the last episode where we passed the mic over to Lewis Woods, everyone was talking about not only is this going to stop once everyone gets back to work? But also like how hard it is to actually believe that after this stuff's been going on for a century, you know, for centuries, like why now? Like really,
Right.
you're on our side?
Mhm.
It's always gonna pop up. I think it's always gonna creep up in some way. Like it's never gonna go away. Racism is not gonna go away.
No.
But it's important now to legislate this stuff.
Yeah.
Like the next year, this stuff needs to be legislated.
And it's happening, right? Like
slowly. I think
the Mississippi flag thing was a huge.
Right. Exactly, it's happening.
That's like such a huge milestone. Like we got to live through that.
It's a milestone. Way too late, but
so late. But we got to be there for it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, some of us are in states where also people are kind of like, anyway, that Nathan Bedford Forrest busts, you know, it's part of our history. And if we get rid of that, then who knows? That's why call the Tennessee Historical Commission at 532-1550. That's 615-532-1550 and tell them you would like to see the Nathan Bedford Forrest bust removed from the state capitol that was put there in the 1970s. All right. That's my
Yeah.
So we should
we got a lot more questions.
Joe's website and stuff, man.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's get to a few questions from people who we haven't answered questions from.
All right.
And to get to Joe's website and talk about that and then wrap it up.
We can go as long as you guys want. Emily's gonna kill me because she's making dinner.
Well, I got nowhere to be till Wednesday. So
Nedra Bray asks, which hat behind you on the wall is your favorite?
Oh, this one right here. That's a Teresa Foglia. It was given to all of us. A different hat was given to all of us at Barclays Arena when we played there the most recent time. She now has a hat shop in Malibu as well. But I got a weird text email from Dane, all of us did, saying, what's your hat size? And I said, big. And they made me a big hat. Fits my head.
Big.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
That's my favorite. My second favorite is this one. It's the Stetson Boss Raw Edge, and it has a head wrap from a Japanese chef from a restaurant that I frequented when I was in Japan performing with a buddy of mine, Yamin Karamlu. The chef took his headband off and gave it to me as a gift when we left, and that's the blue thing that's around it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Joe, are you still responsible for, in Canyon Marsh, are you still responsible for travel arrangements? I mean,
I am, but we're not traveling, so it's fine.
Joe, just find me a golf course, okay? I don't care where we
stay. Yeah, I feel like we did a good job with that this last year.
You did a great job.
Yeah.
Matthew Ensley, once your touring starts back up, are you able to bring back Finish the Lyric?
Oh, absolutely. I've been waiting for that. The best part about that game is I don't know what the lyric is either. But I get to play like I do. So it's a fun game. Yeah.
All right, Laura, I'll ask this other one for you. Do you guys recognize people from one show to the next? We are such a loyal family. Yes, I know, not for me, but I'll say, yes, we recognize you guys.
Yeah. And not only do we recognize you, but we know your names and we know where you live.
That's right.
So don't do anything that'll upset us.
Becky Warden asks, what are you watching on Netflix?
Ooh, I've got a long list. Let's see. Right now, we just finished all of our shows, but I thought, on Netflix, I guess. My wife is rewatching, or she's watching Homeland again. Better Call Saul, great show. Netflix only or all streaming media, because I feel like if we did all streaming media,
I think
I would use Netflix as Kleenex.
Interpret that as everything. Right?
Yeah, we watched Fleabag and we watched Crashing, not Pete Holmes Crashing, but Phoebe's Crashing. Only went one season.
Take that, Pete Holmes.
Yeah, but also Pete Holmes is Crashing, which is a great show if you haven't watched it. HBO. Yeah.
Fine, Joe. Fine.
Related to the venue question, y'all have played both ACL venues. Which do you like better? The Moody Theater.
Yeah, I like Moody Theater a lot.
They're both great. The other one's new one's bigger, you know. But
yeah.
And I'm sorry for answering these questions.
No. That I agree.
Joe,
I mean, the new one's fine.
You haven't answered the question.
Answer at the Moody Theater. Say the Moody Theater.
The Moody Theater. Oh, sorry, the Moody Theater. The new theater has a ping pong table, which is fun.
I want to follow up on this because first of all, Bob hasn't answered any of these questions, and some of them are just as relevant for him. But I will also say that the question about do you guys recognize anybody from your live shows? I can testify to that because when we first started this podcast, some of you guys who were big fans were like some of our earliest supporters.
Mm-hmm.
I was all excited. I was like, Tanya Marsh is posting about this, like Fig White. And he was like, yeah, Fig, she's great. Like Tanya, I was like, you know them. It was cool to me. That's because I've always admired these guys for like how much they actually care about their fans, and it was kind of cool to see that.
Well, I mean, it's not just, but I mean, it's beyond caring about them, right? Like when you see them so often, like you just inherently want to know how things are going. Like, it's a question I would ask anyone that I like. If I had a barista that I saw every day, I would be like, "Hey, man, how are things going? How is COVID going for you?" You know, like it just becomes a natural thing to interface with people once you see them enough. Emma, Scott and Seth were already on. You Made It Wait. It was Pete Holmes' You Made It Weird, right? Yeah, Scott and Seth were on that already. They did like a 4-hour episode or something.
Yeah,
like
but he came to Concord.
He came to Concord. Yeah.
All right, I'm tired.
You just can't see Bob's like,
it's late for y'all.
Dude, Joe Kwon, look.
Yeah.
Let's talk about where people can find you because I'm pumped. Because, all right, you've got this awesome website. What's your website?
KwonKwon.com.
KwonKwon.com. All right, so here's
KwonKwon.com.
Go check it out. All right. I'm excited about it because we're just hiring the guy who designed your website to design a new website for us.
He's great. Yeah. They're both great. Yeah. Charles and Destiny Crossingham. They're just amazing human beings. I met them. I think I got like a random email from them just saying, like, introducing themselves. And they were just as sweet as can be. And they were like, we own this development firm. And then I went on their website and I noticed that they did Anthony Bourdain's website. And obviously I'm a huge Anthony Bourdain fan. He's kind of the like god of the food discovery world, right? He's the one who introduces you to the world of finding crazy foods all around the world. And I thought to myself, well, that's very legitimate, obviously, because they worked with him. And I met with them over like a glass of like sparkling champagne at our house or something like that, you know, and we just sat there and talked. Yeah, super shady. And we just talked about what the website should be or what it would look like. And they just worked with me very closely and put all of their efforts into like designing this website that I wanted, like the way that I wanted it to look and how I wanted to present myself. And they did such a good job with it. 7 Ages Design out of Raleigh, North Carolina.
7agesdesign.com.
Yeah. Yeah.
And can I just tell you like how we got to know them was because at your New Year's Eve show this year in Greensboro, we were like hanging out. Me and Kelly were hanging out with like John Causey and Emily and like a bunch of people. And I walked backstage and was like getting a drink and I started talking to this guy and I was like, this guy likes to talk as much as I do. And we just started awesome. And like we had this great conversation. He's like, I designed this website for Joe Kwon. And I was like, if it's half as good as you are as you are excited about like your work. And so I was like, give me a card. And then we got in touch and we just recently kind of talked to him.
Oh, good.
And I pumped. So if you want to, you know, if you guys who want to see it, like go to KwonKwon.com and check out 7 Ages, 7agesdesign.com. They are, it's great. I don't even understand how you make a website that good. I mean, for those of you guys who do our website, that's what happens when I go on Squarespace. All right. That's it looks like somebody tripped and fell on the internet. That's what it looks like. So
Ben, you did a great job.
You did.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Seemed like that whenever our 3 tabs at the top were just our first 3 episodes.
Well, because I remember trying to do, and in fact, this is like a tour memory. We were somewhere and I was trying to do it, and I couldn't even do Squarespace, and so Ben did it.
Yes, it was Bob, you're not taking responsibility for the chaos that is our website. Bob was like, "Hey, I was nice enough to try this," and I was like, "I'll try it too." And 4 years later, I'm still trying it. So, theroadtonow.com, everybody.
Hey, it's great.
It's gonna be so good when Charles and Destiny get a hold of it.
I know, man. That's why I'm so excited. I was like, this is everything comes back around. So much that's good in my life comes from your band, including Dave's.
Oh, me too. Me too. I was texting with him. You know, he's like super thin now.
I know. What is he doing or not doing?
Dang.
So for everyone who doesn't know Dane's our tour manager extraordinaire. He is the most selfless human being you've ever met, and he also takes care of all 20 of us on the road better than we could take care of ourselves.
He's the closest thing in our lives to George Washington.
He is. He is our living George Washington.
If he gives his word, he will do it. Dane texted me today and said, "Hey, do you have any good history documentary recommendations? Because I've been watching one a day."
He has been. He's been reading a lot too.
I love that.
On top of trying to get his mile time to sub 5.
Yeah.
He's trying to run a mile in under 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It is, and he's so close.
And he's also playing golf.
And he's playing golf.
Getting good fast.
Yeah, he's...
Yeah.
Scratch that. He's the closest thing we have to Bo Jackson. In our
There we go. Did you see
I like that.
The anniversary of the wall jump? Yesterday was the anniversary of when Bo Jackson ran up against the
did it? Oh. He's our Bo Jackson.
He is.
He's like if Bo Jackson and George Washington had a child, which obviously would be weird. Which one's got the womb? Neither one. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, man, this was fun, y'all.
Yeah, thank you so much for
thank y'all.
Being so open with us and honest and spending so much time with us tonight.
It was like 15 minutes?
Normally people are, dying to get out of here,
No, this was fun.
Stuck around, you made yourself a home.
I had a blast. What are you talking about?
You made us some guacamole and,
If only I could make you some guacamole right now.
Well, I wish you could. I wish you could cook for me too.
Me too.
I wish we could be in a restaurant and you could just order a bunch of stuff.
All that sushi that we could eat. Yeah, I agree. I wish we were. But I'm not going inside in a restaurant for a long time.
No, never mind.
Well,
thank you, everyone.
And that ends our first segment here with me and Bob. And stick around for me on Zoom eating dinner with Joe and Emily. Side podcast where they try to eat and I don't let them. That's great.
Give our love to Emily. Thank you so much, Joe. And I will talk to you soon.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure we will chat soon. Love you guys.
Ben, I love you too.
Love you guys. Cheers.
Good night.
Bye. Good night.
All right. Now that Bob's gone.
See ya, buddy.
Cheers, man.